When he was a senior in Georgetown University, Blatty found a newspaper clipping about a Maryland boy that was allegedly possessed, and the demon was exorcised by Catholic priests. He saved that clipping for decades. And in the mid-60s, he was turning that into a novel, but not a horror novel, a satirical courtroom drama. Around this time, his mother, Mary, who was a Lebanese Maronite Catholic immigrant, she had raised him alone in 1930s in New York through extreme poverty, cleaning houses, selling jelly on the streets to survive. Blatty had prayed for success as a writer while she lived, hoping to be able to give her some measure of comfort, hoping to repay her sacrifices. Well, she died. It was while he was working on this satirical courtroom novel about a possession that his mother died, and this left him spiritually and emotionally devastated. In 1967, Ira Levin's novel Rosemary's Baby came out. A year later, 1968, the movie came out, the Polanski film, and both were sensations. But Blatty, while respecting the artistic accomplishments of both the novel and film, he was disturbed by the nihilism embedded in both, their portrayal of evil without good. So after the death of his mother, and after examining his own feelings about his reaction to Rosemary's Baby, he rethought his novel. The courtroom satire just felt hollow to him. He needed to confront deeper spiritual questions. So he went back to the inspiration for that possession story, which was this newspaper clipping he had found as a student. And the headline read, "Priest frees Mount Rainier boy reported held in devil's grip." So now, abandoning the satire angle and just taking the story at face value and really looking into questions of faith, God, evil, the possessed boy's story seemed to him now like a potential path back to faith. So he resolved to write a theological novel disguised as horror, proving that if evil exists, then so must good. Here are the details of the 1949 exorcism case. A 14-year-old boy from Mount Rainier, Maryland, pseudonymously known as Roland Doe or Robbie Mannheim, allegedly became possessed. Supposedly, the incidents began after he used a Ouija board to try to contact a deceased aunt. The earliest signs of demonic activity included scratching noises, shifting furniture, objects moving around. Eventually, this escalated into violent movements, mattress shaking, guttural voices coming out of the boy, reactions to religious objects. The family was Lutheran, and they initially sought help from their ministers. None of that worked, so they reluctantly turned to the Catholic Church. Father Edward Hughes attempted an exorcism at Georgetown University Hospital. This ended when the boy broke free, and the word Lewis appeared scratched on the boy's body. The family, who had relatives in St. Louis, took this as a sign and went to St. Louis. And there, Jesuit priests led by Father William Bowdern and Father Walter Halloran performed multiple exorcisms. The final episode ended with the boy saying, "He's gone." So at a New Year's Eve party in New York, William Peter Blatty pitched the story to a Bantam Books editor named Mark Jaffe. Jaffe bought the concept on the spot. The novel was not yet written. He just had notes, he just had ideas, but he had made enough of a name for himself as a writer that Jaffe was willing to gamble on it, and Bantam gave him an advance, enough for Blatty to retreat to a cabin in Lake Tahoe to write, alone and obsessive, feeling like this was his one big chance, one big shot at redemption, and apparently fueled by amphetamines. The novel took shape, and it became about fragmented souls. Seeking wholeness, the possessed child became Reagan, an innocent, pure little girl corrupted by evil. His feeling was that making her a girl would make her more instantly sympathetic to the audience, and all the more shocking in its violation of her purity. Father Karras became Blatty's avatar, the priest wrestling with faith and despair. And of course, if you've seen the film or read the novel, you know the inciting incident in Karras's life is that his elderly mother dies. When the novel was finally done, Blatty felt physically and emotionally wrecked, and he feared the novel would fail. And at first it did. It was released, it got mixed reviews, sales were slow, but the breakthrough occurred when the actor Robert Shaw, who played Quint in Jaws, was supposed to appear on the Dick Cavett show. And he appeared, but he was drunk and turned away. He was unable to function on the show. So Blatty, who had done a pre-interview screening some weeks before, was called at the last moment, and he rushed down to the studio and was interviewed on The Exorcist, and he captivated the viewers by recounting the true case behind the book. He ended up taking over most of the show. Within a week, The Exorcist hit #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, staying there for 55 weeks. The film's production is famous or infamous for accidents and eerie occurrences. At one point, a bird struck a circuit box on the set, and this ignited the McNeil House set, completely destroyed the set, all except for Reagan's bedroom, which is where the exorcisms take place. A Jesuit priest named Thomas Birmingham was called in to bless the set after the fire. During shooting, Ellen Burstyn suffered a permanent spinal injury from a stunt rig. Linda Blair, 12 years old at the time, was hurt by a malfunctioning harness, yelling that her back was broken, but nobody listened. The director, William Friedkin, was a very intense guy, and he believed in pushing his actors to extremes. He would fire guns in the air to startle them. He slapped a priest before a take to get a sincere reaction out of him. He kept the set freezing cold to make the actors uncomfortable and to get realistic breath in the air. He was obsessive about authenticity, which is why The Exorcist feels so different from any other horror film up to that point. There's a documentary realism to it. Mercedes McCambridge, the demon's voice, drank and smoked and vomited offset to distort her voice and keep it sounding demonic. There were at least 6 connected individuals who died during or soon after production. Jack McGoran, who played the doomed director Burke Dennings, died of flu complications. Vasiliki Maliaros, a non-actor cast as Father Karras's frail mother, died not long after the film was completed. Linda Blair's grandfather died during production. Max von Sydow's brother died during the first day of filming. A night watchman passed away under unclear circumstances. A special effects technician died after the shoot wrapped. And finally, there was the real-life murderer who made a cameo in the film. You probably remember the scene. Reagan was strapped down undergoing a cerebral angiogram with this huge needle entering her neck, blood spurting. The radiology tech guiding the procedure was a real technician, and his name was Paul Bateson. In 1979, Bateson was sentenced to prison for the murder of the film critic Addison Verrill. And while he was in prison, supposedly he confessed to several other killings to other inmates of gay men in New York whose dismembered bodies were found floating in plastic bags in the Hudson River. These came to be known in the media as the Bag Murders. He was never charged with these additional crimes, but Bateson remained a suspect, and his case, in fact, inspired William Friedkin's 1980 film Cruising, starring Al Pacino as a cop infiltrating New York's underground leather scene in search of a killer. Friedkin, who was never one for mysticism, admitted that strange things did happen on the set. He said, more than I could explain. So he ended up asking Father Birmingham to come back and perform a second blessing, a more thorough blessing than the first. William Peter Blatty always waved off talk of a curse, saying, there is no exorcist curse. I am the exorcist curse. To him, all the strange events on the set weren't signs of something supernatural. They were just the statistical fallout of an extended film production. People got sick, accidents happened. The film finally finished shooting in August 1973. After 10 grueling months, which was far longer than was originally scheduled, and then came the post-production.